Hey there, Grace and Lucy. Thank you so much for joining us. So I'd just love to hear all about your recent trip to Zululand Rhino Orphanage and all your experiences there and how your time went. Yeah, and just hear some of the thoughts you had, some of the things you got up to. Just super keen. Maybe just to start off with, before we dive into the sort of week by week, how did it go? What were your initial thoughts, Grace?
Yeah, it was really good. Definitely a once in a lifetime opportunity. Yeah, working with the baby rhinos especially, it just every day it felt very like surreal, like a magical, like you go in and then there's like 5 little baby rhinos that are like all come running up to you to get fed. It was quite incredible. And also on site they have the hippos as well, which is also pretty once in a lifetime. Like you're never going to get that close to a hippo ever, without getting killed by one. Like to stand that close to them and like feed them and be in such close proximity to them is like quite it takes you back a little bit, the experience of it. Yeah.
Nice. And how about you, Grace? Lucy, what was your sort of first impressions and everything, and just now looking back at it all, what did you think?
It's just so surreal. Like I just still can't quite comprehend that you're just feeding baby rhinos 5 times a day, and like you're just sleeping, just meters away from them, and it was just crazy. It was crazy. It was such a once in a lifetime experience.
Okay, so let's break it down then. So you guys were out there for 2 weeks. Tell us, first of all, maybe just tell us where you were traveling from and what you're up to at the moment, and what led you to coming out to go and work with Zululand Rhino Orphanage. And then we'll dive into sort of week by week with each of you. So Grace, where were you, first of all, where were you sort of coming from, and why was this something you wanted to do?
So I've always had like a little bit of an interest in conservation, and then kind of got a bit interested in like pursuing it further. So I was looking at stuff that I could potentially do, and saw this as an option. So then I was like, oh, I wonder if anyone would want to come with me. So I asked Lucy, and then we both decided that it would be something that would be pretty incredible to do. After like we spoke to you about it a bit, we'd seen what the other girls had done, and we just thought, we should just go for it. So I was traveling from Nottingham, and we traveled from Heathrow Airport, I met Lucy at Heathrow because she was traveling from Scotland.
Okay, nice. So Lucy, you got roped into it by Grace. Probably not regretting it now, were you?
Oh, absolutely not.
Because you were coming from Glasgow. Are you studying in Glasgow, or are you down studying in Nottingham as well?
No, studying in Liverpool, same as Grace. Traveling from my home in Glasgow. Well, not in Glasgow, but near Glasgow.
So let's dive straight into it week by week. So why don't you start us off, Lucy? So the arrival, and then that first week, some of the things you got up to. What were some of the sort of highlights and everything that you want to tell everyone about?
Yeah, so we arrived quite late in the day when we got to Durban. So we stayed at Annie's B&B the first night, which was so lovely. And then the next morning we kind of went to the beach, had a walk along the beach, and just kind of saw a bit of the city, which even that was just so surreal and just so peaceful and so calm at that time in the morning. Then got picked up by Louis and did our food shop and went to the orphanage. But then it was quite late on in the day before we arrived, so we just kind of went to bed, got settled in, which was quite nice. And then first thing the next morning we were off on a dehorning, so that was quite thrown in at the deep end, but we wouldn't have had it any other way. So yeah, we saw that. We saw just immediately after, as soon as we got out, we saw giraffes, we saw everything just so up close, and we were just so taken back by it that we didn't think, oh, let's take a photo of them or something. But yeah, it was really cool.
Okay, Grace. What else in the first week sort of jumped out at you? Some of the routines you got into. Yeah, talk us through some other things.
So we also got to go out with Trevor, one of the vets, on one of the days, which I thought was quite nice. He took us out to a cattle farm and to see some cattle that were sick, as well as do some pregnancy tests. And that was really interesting, like learning a little bit about the diseases which are prevalent in other countries, like prevalent in that area of South Africa, and seeing it's different type of cattle they've got over there, and it's sort of like bigger farming systems, like it was like a very ranch style farming, which was interesting to see and learn about. And Trevor was really helpful with everything. Definitely giving us like a head start for clinical years in vet school, learning about how to do the pregnancy tests and everything. And yeah, he was very helpful. Any questions you had, he was more than happy to like assist with. And we also went out to the community and did food drops in the crash, which was really nice as well. Like seeing that different side of Africa, because it's the sort of thing that you wouldn't see if you were traveling as a tourist. You wouldn't go out to that sort of rural areas and meet those people.
Nice, amazing. So Lucy, why don't you tell me a little bit about like a typical day, like when you were actually in the orphanage and you weren't going to community, or you weren't up with Trevor or doing amazing dehorning or anything like that. Just your typical day at the orphanage, start to finish. Talk us through some of that.
Typical day would probably be get up for Grace, get up about 6, me a little bit later. Wouldn't always have time for breakfast, and then feed the rhinos at 7, make up the milk and stuff, and then clean them out, change the water, top up the food, whatever was needing done. Feed the hippos, which was really cool. They just kind of wander over to you and you say open, and they just open their mouth and you just throw the food in. It's really cool.
We always forget about the hippos. We've got to give them a mention.
They're amazing. Spend some time with Mystique, and then kind of every 3 hours you're then feeding the rhinos again, which is just crazy. So yeah, kind of some chill time during the day. We would, if it was a nice day, we'd maybe sunbathe or like play cards or something, go for a wee walk, and then finish about just after 7 at night after the last feed.
Nice. So you mentioned Mystique. Why don't you tell everyone who Mystique is?
She is the wee dog that is there, and she's so gorgeous. I think you said earlier that everyone that meets her just falls in love with her. She's so cute.
Lovely. And Grace, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the team? Yeah, so some of the people you worked with, some of the amazing people that obviously run the orphanage. Talk us through some of the people that you worked with.
So most of the days we were working with Naquanda, who's one of the rhino carers. And yeah, she was really lovely with us. And yeah, we'd go make the milk with her in the morning. Every feed, we were doing the feeds with her. Yeah, she was really lovely. Any questions, yeah, she was answering them. And there was Simone and Louis as well, who like helped do a lot of the managing of the orphanage. Again, so lovely, like the whole team. Any questions you had, they were more than happy to help. Yeah, they were just all so lovely. And then we were with Don took us to the vet with the pangolin as well. And yeah, it's just obvious all the team there just really care about all the animals, and that's really lovely to see. Like you can just see the passion and care that everyone has, and it's really lovely to work in a team that's like that.
Nice. Why don't you continue into second week now? So first week, obviously still quite active, got up to a lot, did a rhino dehorning, went to some of the communities, obviously worked with rhinos and the hippos. And second week, was that much different? Did you see any other sort of aspects of the area, or get up to anything different?
So I'd say our second week was busier than our first week. I think the start of the week we did a couple of game drives. So it's basically just going out, the game drives are probably one of my favorite thing that we did. It was just going out and basically just looking at what animals you could see. And I think we were looking for cheetahs, because there'd been some cheetah sightings. We didn't end up seeing the cheetahs, but we were going around and we ended up getting, I wouldn't have thought that I would have been into like looking at birds or stuff like that, but ended up quite getting into it. And yeah, we saw some secretary birds, which I think they said there was only 6 in the whole park, and we ended up seeing 2 of them. We saw vultures circling, it was quite cool because we were just chatting about them, because I had no idea that vultures were critically endangered, and we were just talking about it, and it's like they heard us because one suddenly rose up from the like bush, and then suddenly the sky was literally full of them. So then we were like chasing them and trying to see if we could like find out what they were circling over, which was quite fun. It was like doing a bit of like detective work. But yeah, it's just all the animals that you see. I think maybe because we've never been before, but everything was just taking us back. Like everything was just, oh my god, look at that, look at that, look at that. Yeah, it was all just really exciting. We went out again with Trevor as well and did some more work at a cattle farm doing pregnancy tests again. And also it was interesting because we were talking to one of the farmers there was talking about like conservation and the conflict that he has with the wildlife and his farming. And I think that was quite an interesting like conversation to hear, because it puts into perspective like some of the struggles that are going on like currently within the conservation world, especially with people who live in the area and like obviously people who want to save all the animals, but then it's affecting people's like livelihoods and stuff like that. So that was definitely an interesting conversation to hear. And we also did some work with pangolins as well, which was really cool.
Incredible. So Lucy, tell us a bit more about the pangolin time. That's absolutely a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, crazy. I think one evening we took one of the pangolins to the vet because it was just feeling a bit under the weather, and just to make sure everything was sort of okay. So that was really cool. That was kind of just like we didn't know we were doing it until just not long before. But even to see like how the vet is different, how they have to manage it differently with a pangolin, and obviously compared to other mammals, and just all that kind of stuff, like seeing it go under anesthetic, everything was just so surreal. And then the next day we did the pangolin walk, which was crazy, with what pangolin was it? Was it Ditsy?
Yeah, Ditsy.
Just turning over the stones and just seeing her that long tongue eating all the ants. Yeah, it was really cool.
Oh, amazing. She said, do you want to tell people listening what pangolin walk is, like what that entails, like why having to do it?
So I think it's they said it was like soft release program that they have. So yeah, rescued pangolins, and then they have to try and get them up to a certain weight before I think it was 6 kilos, I'm not sure, before they're released into the wild. And then they do checkups on them whilst they're in the wild. But when we're taking them out on the pangolin walk, it's basically to try and get them to eat as much ants as possible. So you're walking along, through the bush, like picking up rocks and stuff like that, trying to find ants' nests underneath for the pangolin to eat.
And then we'll be a helping hand to get there.
Yeah.
To get a good source.
Nice. I mean, absolutely amazing. Like rhinos is obviously one thing, hippos is another thing. Getting a chance to work with pangolins as well is incredible, especially considering how endangered they are and how they are being trafficked so heavily. Sadly. So that's absolutely amazing. And then in the second week, you also did some more rhino dehornings, didn't you?
We did 2 more. So we got to see one on a black rhino, which was really cool. Because obviously the black rhinos are more endangered than the white. And then we saw one on a mum and her calf, which was really cool as well. And they were letting us do stuff with the mum and the calf as well. So I got to put a microchip in the calf, which was quite cool. Different from putting a microchip in a dog, definitely. But yeah, with that one as well, there was like some bull rhinos around that kept trying to charge at where they were doing the dehorning, which was a little bit scary. But yeah, it was quite cool seeing them chase them off, and yeah, exciting experience to be part of.
Wow. Oh, man. So any other, looking back at those 2 weeks now, any other sort of highlights that you want to pick on that you maybe haven't mentioned yet, or anything else that, really sort of stood out in your mind, or just made it really special? Is there anything else we haven't spoken about?
I think in the evenings it was quite nice just like watching the baby rhinos.
Yeah, watching the kind of sunset, and then watching the rhinos play, and then it kind of leads into the stars. The stars are amazing. We kind of got a little bit into stargazing, not really, because we didn't really know, we didn't really understand, but it was really cool. It was really beautiful.
Oh, amazing, guys. Okay, so a couple more questions for you. So now, having done the trip and looking back at it, and can you tell us a little bit about how beneficial this was for, obviously, being studying at veterinary school now, and if it was something you'd recommend for other veterinary students, why don't you talk us a little bit about that? What do you think, Grace?
I definitely recommend it for getting like an insight into conservation, if it's something that you're like even a little bit interested in. Like, yeah, it's a really good starting place, I think, for a starting point for getting yourself into conservation. And then with the time we had with the vet as well, I think that was really beneficial, to be able to compare and look at the different farming systems and how they compare to the farming system in the UK. I think that was really also really beneficial as a vet, especially if you've got any sort of plans to do veterinary outside of the UK or anything like that. I think that's massively beneficial.
And how about you, Lucy? Anything to add to that?
Yeah, definitely. Even just kind of the educational side of it, and learning about poaching and all the kind of what comes with that, and how they're trying to prevent it, and all of this, and like the darting procedure, for instance, for the dehornings, what makes up the dart, why that makes up the dart, why this is the best formula, and just it was really, really interesting, and just kind of experience we wouldn't have had elsewhere, especially staying in the UK. You would never have got that.
Yeah, nice. Okay, and then what about sort of tips for students looking to go out, or any sort of anyone interested in veterinary medicine, ecology, zoology, conservation, anything like that, going out to a project like this? Anything that caught you by surprise? Anything that wasn't what you thought, that was a bit unexpected? That's a good sort of tip for a future participant to remember? Anything else?
Prepare for the weather. Luckily we were quite lucky when we were there, and it was hot during the day, but it is very, very cold in the evenings, and I don't think we quite thought that through. And especially when you're on kind of like game drives, or like on the on the open top vehicles, driving at high speeds, it can get very, very cold. I think we learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
But yeah, prepare for the weather. Bring more than what you think you need.
So what do you recommend? Like layers, like just layer up, like that kind of
fleeces, things like that. Gloves were a good one. I didn't use them all that much, but they were just kind of when we were sitting in the car or something. They obviously make a difference. Maybe a hat or something. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Also warm clothes, like t-shirt and stuff as well, because it does get hot. But just bring everything.
Yeah, especially on the back of the things. I think on the first day when we first went out on the first drive we did, we were both sat there a little bit like, we're freezing cold right now. It's the wind as well. Yeah, we hadn't expected that, because it was quite warm when you're walking around, but the moment you sit on the back of the truck and they're driving you really fast because they've got somewhere to be, you get a bit cold.
So for those of you watching, Lucy and Grace went out in sort of July, August time, which is kind of the middle of winter in South Africa. And a lot of people, when they think South Africa or they think Africa in general, they just think hot all the time. And for anyone who has traveled over that sort of the southern hemisphere winter to South Africa, it can still get very nice during the day, but you know, when the sun goes down or in the mornings and the evenings, it can get really chilly. And obviously, as Grace and Lucy mentioned, you know, the wind chill factor can sometimes make it quite chilly as well. But if you're there in summer, so if you're there the northern hemisphere winter time, then obviously very hot, and especially where they were in KwaZulu-Natal area, quite sort of humid and stuff like that. But yeah, so definitely winter time in South Africa, you know, be prepared for all sorts of weather. It could be a little afternoon thunder shower, it could be cold evenings, cold mornings, it could be hot in the middle of the day, so all sorts. Any other tips for students going out or anyone going out to join a project like this?
I got a tick, so something to remove ticks with.
Oh wow.
Because I had to get Lucy to pull it off with me with like tweezers, but if she hadn't brought the tweezers, then I would have had a tick stuck in me for a while.
So do a little tick check at the end of the day, just to double check, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing, guys. It was so nice chatting to you. Is there anything else you want to say about the project or about the team there, or, you know, yeah, anything else you want to sort of add just as a final sort of word?
The team are just definitely...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, on you go.
I was just going to say the team are just definitely really lovely, like so passionate about the work that they're doing. And yeah, it's really nice to get involved with that. And then, yeah, just everyone was so passionate when you ask them any questions or anything like that. Like, it's really nice, like being able to work with that sort of team in that sort of environment.
Yeah. Anything from you, Lucy?
Yeah, just they were like, it was quite clear to see how passionate they were about the cause, which was really, you know, really nice to see and really kind of pass that on to us. And we you know, we really learned a lot and just, yeah, thank them for that. We had a really amazing time.
Oh, amazing. Oh, thank you so much for sharing your experiences and everything. And I'm sure you'd be happy if anyone reached out to you, if they got any questions about the trip or orphanage in particular or anything. Otherwise, anyone watching who's interested in going to Zululand Rhino Orphanage, give me a shout. We can organize a trip for you to go and participate in some amazing things in a fascinating part of South Africa. And yeah, there's lots of other ways to get involved too. So if you can't manage to get out to Zululand Rhino Orphanage, we've always got various fundraisers going on, general fundraisers, but also individual fundraisers. Grace and Lucy have got their individual fundraisers that are up and running at the moment, so they can sort of continue after their trip now to help out with the orphanage. There's lots of other ways to participate. We've got a fantastic sort of pangolin online module out at the moment, which is really interesting, looking at pangolins. We've got two rhino modules, which looks at some of the work can be done with rhinos, which is really, really fantastic. Look out for more live streams like this. Keep up to date with some updates as we post them. So just thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you soon. See you all. Bye.